Welcome to the Tech Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Vincent, and on this podcast, I interview people in tech. As always, this show is sponsored by the Consulting Launch Method, where I help experienced tech professionals build their own consulting business alongside their current day job without spending years figuring out the business side. We've helped clients go from initial idea to first customer in 90 days and six figures within a year. If you want to learn more, connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message. On today's show, I'm really pleased to have David Toozs-Hobson on. He is a solution architect at Computacenter, where he's building a new identity center of excellence. I'm sure we'll touch on that as we go through that. So welcome, David, to the show.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
So the first question I always love to start with is looking back at your career, and you just mentioned you've been in this sort of identity space for 25 years. What is the decision or the project that you're most proud of, and why? Was there anything in particular that made it stand out for you?
The thing I'm most proud of is the people that I've managed to help and bring into the industry through the years. Been involved in security since 1993, and during that time I built up my own VAR. I think we peaked at about 65 people, but we've hired lots of people with no industry experience, and they've gone on to achieve great things in our industry. One guy was working at Brickworks, got to be a global VP sales for a big software house in the States. Another guy joined me as a welder and became a senior consultant, delivering some really complex solutions. And just the growth and the way people have taken the opportunity that you give them, it makes you really proud and happy. So that's what I'm most proud of in 30-something years in this industry.
And is it, how do you help people kind of transition from bricklaying to identity and security?
It's a question of really they do it themselves, but all you do is give them the tools and encourage them and help them and put some training time. But ultimately, people's success is driven by their own desire to succeed. The chap we mentioned who works at Brickworks, if the phone rang in the office, he was the first to pick it up. Why? Because it might be a sales lead. He beat other people. He was that much more hungry. He did have 4 kids, so a lot of mouths to feed. But that drive, that desire, that want is so important. And it's been great to give people that platform, the ability to them to take it or not. Conversely, I've had people that have not taken the opportunity they've been given and they've moved on. Doesn't make them bad people. and some people have done very well moving on, and good luck to them. But it is very pleasing when you see what some people have achieved with opportunity provided.
And why is that so sort of important to you? I mean, clearly you seem to sort of create an environment where people can sort of grow as people. Why is that so important to you?
That's just me, I guess. I just think it's, we're on this planet for a short time, aren't we? Let's make sure we do a good job with it. And I find it very satisfying with seeing people's success that they build with the opportunity they've given. So that for me is really, really important. I think if you're building a team, you've got to have people with that desire to win, because we all want to be in a winning team. Nobody wants to come in second. So that's where it's important for me. I think everybody benefits from a team of winners.
How do you identify winners, or is it more you get many people through the door, and some will simply win and others simply won't?
I think you always try and give people as much chance to win. It's probably sometimes in my past I've probably given people too long, and would have probably been easier just to let them go sooner, if you know what I mean, without being cruel. Because you always get people who can do it and can't do it, and sometimes people will hang on longer. With people don't like to admit defeat, and it isn't always a defeat when you can't make it. It's just you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you need to recognize that you'll be happier doing something different. Nobody enjoys coming second. Nobody enjoys failure. So just, if it doesn't work, move on. Don't be afraid to. There's always plenty of other opportunities.
And this was you kind of referring to a situation where you were having you had your own company, or were you kind of?
Yeah, I founded a business called Global Secure Systems back in 1996, I think it was. And we were one of the early security VARs, which was great fun. We was early days. Security was very much an afterthought. People really didn't invest a lot of money in security. A very, very different environment than we have today. And you had to persuade people. Why would they spend money on security when they didn't need to? And slowly, obviously, as security has become more and more important, the investment's gone up. People have suffered bigger and bigger losses, and so the whole market has changed, which is great fun. It means that the whole world has been changing, and you're part of that. And the threats, the challenges to customers is changing constantly. So you have to keep up to date. You have to be on top of it, which I thoroughly enjoy. Every day is a school day is the quote that lots of people use, but it's so true. There's always something new coming around the corner in cybersecurity.
And I agree. I mean, and the market is cybersecurity only seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger just because AI is coming around the corner or is here, but all and the implications around that when it comes to security. But I wanted to go back. I mean, you said you had a VAR. What happened to the VAR? I mean, are you still running it, or is it?
No, the VAR. I sold the VAR, exited out of that about 10 years ago, and made a decision that I wanted to. I've gone from building a business, 2 men and a dog. And when I started out, it literally was 2 men and a dog, and the dog used to come into the office with me every day. And you build it up to the level, and then I then flipped, and I spent a year or two at Capita running their IT consulting business, security consulting business.
Yeah.
And then moved to Computacenter, and the reason for that was a deliberate move in that Computacenter are the biggest in Europe and gone on to grow massively over that time. Just to see it from the other side. As a small VAR, you're constantly having to sell both the business and the solution to the customer. Why are they going to work with you? You're a small company.
Yeah.
Computacenter don't have that problem because we're the biggest. So it's sort of and Computacenter has probably in the UK only 250 customers. But also, as an organization, over the last few years, we've grown massively around the world. In America now, I believe, is something crazy, like we're the largest VAR in California. So Computacenter on a massive journey. But for me, it's quite interesting seeing it from the other side, from being a small fish in the pond, being on the big fish in the pond. So that's why I chose to do it, just to have a different view, really.
And what do you? I mean, do you like it better, or is it, or both are good, but just different?
But it's different. Both is pluses and minuses everywhere, isn't it? And I guess it can't be too bad because I'm still here 10 years later, so it's not all bad. But yeah, there's pluses and minuses. It's fun working with major enterprises who have budgets. When you're running a small VAR, it's difficult. You're too small to get into some of the major players that we deal with at Computacenter. So it's a different environment. It's a different problems you're facing every day. Different way of finding solutions. So it's good in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you would start your tech career again tomorrow, knowing what you know now, with I guess a lot of the changes happening in the tech industry, but also knowing both sides of that kind of coin, if you will, is there any advice you would give your younger self, or the thing you would do differently if you could go back in time?
I think there's some great opportunities for young people coming through now. We recognize that there's a shortage of people that understand security. But also when I look at the graduate program, for example, the Computacenter run, the kids coming through get to spend time in every department. They get a thorough sheep dipping across the business, which seems really good. And then they come out into a major enterprise. The challenge they've got is they've not had to fight to sell the business in the same way, as opposed to if you go to a small VAR, you are fighting, scrapping for every opportunity to speak to customers. So with the CC world, it's not quite the same. So, but there's a massive benefit when you've had 18 months, 2 years being sheep dipped in all aspects of the business. So there's good and bad again, both ways. I think the important bit comes down to attitude. It always comes down to the person and how much they're prepared to put into it. You reap what you sow, but we are in an industry. The tech industry we're in is a remarkable place to work. In sales, in particular, we very spoiled. The salaries, the money that people earn is very good compared to other industries, and people get spoiled with hospitality. We eat in the finest restaurants when we're entertaining customers and all the rest of it. So I think the tech industry is a great place to be, but appreciate it. Don't take it for granted would be my simple message. I think we're very lucky people, and we should always be grateful for that and stay touch humble. I think a few people can sometimes get a little bit arrogant in this space.
I guess there's all sorts. It's so true. The remuneration sometimes it feels a bit off the scale in some areas. People I've worked with moving on to other roles. It's just are you the one for? I guess I know the answer to this question, but get you hear you say it. But are you one for kind of hopping around different kind of companies and jobs, or are you trying to be more sort of settle in for a good few years?
For me personally, I believe that working with a customer should be a long-term adventure. It's not hopping from generally speaking, people hopping from job to job. There's a reason for that. And the people that are successful generally tend to stay a little bit longer in the job. Yeah. And when you're working with a customer, especially in security, it's all about trust. And trust isn't doing one deal and disappearing. Trust is about spending many years understanding the customer and working with them, predicting. One of my best customers I ever had was a hotel chain up in Scotland, where we worked with them for 20 years. And I never gave them, I don't think, a penny discount. But I also spent a hell of a lot of time not getting paid on educating them, telling them what's around the corner, working with them on next year's budget. When they had a problem, they had support there and then at no cost. Their email system dropped one Friday night, and by 7 o'clock it was fixed, back and running, because I had an engineer in on site. He had a pass, got in, fixed it, no bill. Because that's all give and take, and it's all the relationship. And I think it's difficult sometimes today where relationships aren't valued when purchasing are responsible for buying a product. And they don't always value that sort of a relationship, because when things go wrong, and things do always go wrong, it's not deliberate, it's not on purpose, that's just life. You need the ability to pick up the phone and have somebody react, because you've got that relationship, which is something we always did, and something I was very proud of. And that's where, people question you sometimes. You need to have a bit of fat in a deal sometimes. You need to make a profit, because that way, when you are needed, you can afford to be there and you can get on and fix things. And it's a shame nowadays that sometimes some of the deals are cut to the bone. People don't see the value, and there's a race to the bottom on the price. But when things go wrong, you need to be able to afford to get in there and fix it. So that's one of those challenges today, I think, more so than always like 25, 30 years ago, where people valued the deal, valued the relationship more.
It feels that maybe more, because I've had like multinational experience myself. I think in certain countries and areas and cultures, I think relationships are more valued than they are currently. I would say, let's call it Western Europe, right? Or the West, maybe being too generic, but
You can see it. You can see it when you work in different markets.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say I had the good fortune of running an office in Germany for a while, and the Germans value relationships. They don't hop from supplier to supplier. They are long-term relationships, and you can't just walk in the door. But it's a closer partnership, and I think, you know, when talking to customers, certainly in security, there's an awful lot of people appreciate partnership, where both people are putting skin in the game, and that's important. But sometimes when the accountants get to run the show, it gets a bit difficult because they don't see the value until things go wrong, which is when you have to be there to be able to help them. So,
which is obviously so interesting dichotomy, right? Because in the tech industry, you can clearly see that a lot of the companies are run by accountants or people in finance with spreadsheets, because that's why there is a ton of redundancies and investments in different places that are maybe unorthodox or whatever it may be. So clearly, it's not putting the relationship or the customer first to some extent, right?
Yeah, and two of my big projects at the moment that we're delivering on identity, they're both projects we've taken over from other organizations that have failed to deliver. I mean, identity projects are complicated. All the marketing teams you read on any identity products, you will have it, you know, as a silver bullet you can install and be running in 10 minutes. And the reality of it is identity is a far more complicated. There are many, many different threads to getting identity sorted and secured. But two of the big projects right now are projects that have been kicked off for at least 6 months by other organizations who didn't deliver. They charged and just didn't get it and didn't do the job. That's great for us. It's an opportunity for us to come in and deliver, but it is that important piece of making sure you come in up front and understand the problems and spend more time on discovery and understanding the organization, understanding the challenges before you go charging in and trying to deliver something. But that's back to, it's a partnership. It needs to be a partnership. We need to get that established fairly early on in my head. And that way we can deliver a good outcome. And that's critical for businesses when doing these major identity projects. An awful lot of them have failed historically because people have charged in, they've not invested properly up front. And they've charged in probably because there's an audit point that says you need to fix this. And there's, you know, to see value, see success, you need to go a little bit beyond that. Is what I've seen historically.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, final question, David. What's next for you in terms of your career? You've been at Computacenter for 10 years. I mean, what are your thoughts on what's next?
So our identity business in Germany is considerably larger than it is in the UK. So my ambition is to build our centre of excellence up here so it's at least the same size as our German business. I want us to be seen as one of the number one providers, if not the number one of the major providers of identity products and services. It's about delivering successful outcomes. It's about delivering good business outcomes for people. So that's my drive, and we've got a few years to get it going. As ever, I'd like to be doing more faster, harder, quicker, but it takes time. It takes time to recruit the right people to help me on delivery and so on and so forth. But that's the challenge. That's the one that we're setting off on now, is to get to the top tier on delivery. At the moment, Computacenter are one of the, if not the largest reseller of identity licensing. But now we've got to help on the professional services, make those licenses work and sing the customers.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that's license is only one thing, right? Technology doesn't do anything on its own. You need to actually make it work for your clients. So
100%. It's a business outcome. We're reducing business risk, and we mustn't forget that. It's about the risk to the business. It's not just about implementing a bit of technology. It's about a much bigger picture. In addition to that, we've got to make sure that anything integrates into the whole business as well. So things like integration because of ServiceNow or Terraform for automation, there's an awful lot more to it than just let's put this product in and make it work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, David, it's been a pleasure. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? LinkedIn, I assume? Or...
Ping me on LinkedIn. That's a good place to start. That's probably the best place to start, quite honestly. Because yeah, that would be a great place to start. Be good to speak if you've got some identity projects.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And as a reminder to everyone listening, the show is sponsored by the Consulting Launch Method, where I help experienced and professionals build their own consulting business next to the day job without spending years figuring out the business side. We've helped clients go from first idea to first customer in 90 days and 6 figures within a year. To learn more, connect with me on LinkedIn. David, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you, Vincent.
Until the next episode.